Shaping space with color, perception, emotion, and representation. We're not just talking about branding or what looks good, we're talking about color psychology and the impact it can have on your communication. Curiosity, communication, understanding. The happiest color survey. We have done a small research about the mood of colors, and the majority of people think that yellow is the happiest color. Even though it is the brightest, it transmits good mood. But why almost no one wears yellow? The blue one, the least represented, but if we look around, almost everyone is wearing something blue. Color is powerful enough to elevate and evoke moods. Color can show the power of decision. It means that the use of color can improve the perception of the message. As you can see in this black and white pictures, but just because we are using blue in the background in one of them, it shows us that our attention is centered in that specific image or message and not other one. At this example, the background is black and white, but the picture itself has a color detail. That in opposition white the previous slide catch our attention. Colors stimulate the visual senses, with sight widely regarded as the most dominant of the human senses. This underscores the essential role of vision in perceiving and being affected by color, an influence that spans disciplines from art and design to architecture, marketing, and consumer behavior. In many fields, color is not merely a surface treatment or decorative layer, it plays a decisive role in how space is sensed, understood, and navigated. With colors we communicate and express ideas and feelings. Color affects human behavior and responses. The psychology of color can influence how people will respond to your messages. However, not every individual responds to colors the same way. Contemporary research has moved beyond purely scientific or physiological interpretations of color perception, emphasizing instead that spatial cognition is socially and culturally constructed. Our perception of color and space is shaped by factors such as cultural background, gender, age, emotional state, and professional experience. These findings reinforce the idea that spatial experience is subjective and contingent, an intersection of biological response and social conditioning. Beyond its emotional and cultural connotations, color directly influences how we perceive the scale, depth, and function of a space. There is broad consensus that the strategic use of color, sometimes in combination with patterns, textures, and geometry, can visually manipulate or amplify spatial characteristics. Some of the most common and pedagogically valuable effects include expanding or contracting spaces. Light or cool colors such as whites, pale blues, and light grays tend to open up a room, making it feel more spacious. In contrast, dark or saturated tones create a sense of enclosure, intimacy, and sometimes even monumentality. Guiding movement and orientation, contrasting colors can help define circulation routes, highlight entrances or focal points, and facilitate intuitive navigation. This use is especially important in complex buildings such as schools, hospitals, and transportation hubs. Enhancing material expression. The interplay between color and surface texture can emphasize or soften material qualities. For example, a rough concrete wall painted in a warm hue may appear more tactile and inviting, while a glossy white finish might emphasize the decision. You can use color psychology to communicate value, as well as to sell a product. Careful use of colors to create an initial impression can captivate. Color psychology is closely tied to memories and experiences. Powerful colors linked with art spread powerful energy to the perception. In architectural education, introducing students to the spatial effects of color helps them move beyond static representation toward a more immersive and experiential understanding of form and environment. Through drawing exercises, they come to appreciate how color can shape spatial memory, affect psychological comfort, and even alter the behavior of those who occupy a space. We encourage students to experiment with color in both observational and conceptual drawings, testing how different palettes influence the reading of volume, depth, and orientation. These exercises often result in greater spatial awareness, improved composition, and a deeper engagement with the sensory qualities of architecture. With colors we can change real and virtual. Opposite colors have a powerful energy. attracts the perception's attention. In the abstract, we aim to understand reality, and colors are fundamental to the understanding of form. If you aim to NBSP, increase conversions, for instance, then you may want to use specific colors, like reds, blues, and orange. The colors you will choose can be more powerful than you realize. The use of colors in the cities are a way to turn them into memories and icons. Understanding these psychological effects allows architects to make informed decisions when selecting color schemes for different building typologies, enhancing both functionality and user experience. The sample consists of 20 second-year architecture students, whose coursework was observed and analyzed over a 3-year period. These students participated in studio-based learning environments focused on drawing, spatial composition, and visual representation. The analysis of student work over 3 academic years revealed several recurring themes and developmental patterns in the understanding and representation of form. The results highlight how second-year architecture students begin to internalize formal principles and spatial logic through drawing exercises that balance observation, abstraction, and composition. The strategic use of color in architecture enhances both functional and experiential aspects of design, influencing perception, emotion, and spatial dynamics. The teaching of drawing in architectural education goes beyond technical instruction. It is a fundamental formative practice for developing visual, expressive, and design skills. Understanding these psychological effects allows architects to make informed decisions when selecting color schemes for different building typologies, enhancing both functionality and user experience. The sample consists of 20 second-year architecture students, whose coursework was observed and analyzed over a 3-year period. These students participated in studio-based learning environments focused on drawing, spatial composition, and visual representation. The analysis of student work over 3 academic years revealed several recurring themes and developmental patterns in the understanding and representation of form. The results highlight how second-year architecture students begin to internalize formal principles and spatial logic through drawing exercises that balance observation, abstraction, and composition. The strategic use of color in architecture enhances both functional and experiential aspects of design, influencing perception, emotion, and spatial dynamics. The teaching of drawing in architectural education goes beyond technical instruction. It is a fundamental formative practice for developing visual, expressive, and design skills. From perception, communication, and atmosphere, color in architectural drawing serves functions ranging from the distinction and hierarchy of elements to the creation of atmospheres and sensory experiences. Although often secondary in technical projects, color is an essential tool for visual communication and spatial perception. Texture bridges drawing and materiality. It refers to the surface of objects, the way light interacts with materials, and visually perceived roughness or smoothness. In architectural drawing education, texture must be explored as a means to represent construction reality, contributing to project expressiveness and material perception. Graphically representing textures encourages students to closely observe building materials, wood, concrete, glass, stone, and their visual and tactile characteristics. This practice fosters a more sensitive and realistic design approach, linking spatial conception with constructive aspects. Conclusions. Students demonstrated a growing ability to perceive and construct architectural form through geometric relationships, proportion, and spatial tension. Students demonstrated a growing ability to perceive and construct architectural form through geometric relationships, proportion, and spatial tension. Several students adopted clear compositional frameworks, such as centrality, axiality, or rhythmic repetition, to organize their drawings. These strategies revealed an intuitive understanding of balance, hierarchy, and movement within the drawing plane. Common difficulties included: misunderstanding of spatial depth and scale, over-reliance on outlines without attention to volume, weak integration between drawing intention and compositional logic. Students increasingly use drawing not just to represent but to explore and develop ideas. Sketchbooks, process diagrams, and drafts showed how drawing became a tool for architectural reasoning, allowing students to test hypotheses about form, space, and structure before committing to final designs. Thank you.